Still remaining in Rivers State, Governor Fubara said the Rivers State local government election would hold, and it did. Sadly, not without a fight, it seems. Yesterday, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara swore in the newly elected council chairman at the Executive Council chambers in the Government House in Port Harcourt, Rivers State capital. Justice Adolphus Enebeli, chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, announced the winners of the October 5, 2024 local government elections. The Action People's Party secured a sweeping victory with 22 chairmanship candidates, while Uzodinma Nwafo of the Action Alliance emerged victorious in Iche, the 23rd local government area. Governor Fubara had this to say at the swearing-in.
To be peace-loving. I'm aware that they are mobilizing 20 people per unit to go and confront you tomorrow when you resume in your local government headquarters. But please, if they're coming with violence, avoid them. The peace of this state is too important to us. It is on public notice. Everybody knows what they're planning. But please, I want to beg every one of you, follow my approach. At the right time, you will always win if you're patient and calculative.
Well, Governor Bala Mohammed, the chairman of the People's Democratic Party PDP Governors Forum, was on ground on Sunday when his Rivers counterpart, Sim Fubara, swore in winners of the Saturday's local government election.
That is very, very creative, and I'm very, very proud of him. And I said, yes, we have lost as a party, and that is why we are running from this. Again, he has established himself as a governor and the pride of all the governors of Nigeria. At the subnational level, you cannot just ignore a governor. A governor is the chief executive. He can do anything. He can spring surprises because the Nigerian state is run by governors at the subnational level. Even the federal government is a tenant. Nigerians live in the states and in local governments. And that's why what he did to me is very, very proactive and creative, irrespective of the fact that he knew his party would lose. But sadly, because of his deep democratic instincts, he had to allow the other parties to win. And I would just wish that those who have won will find it in their own modesty to give.
The controversial local government elections held amid protest, pockets of violence, and an average turnout of voters. Well, joining us this morning is the Labour Party candidate for Rivers State 2023 gubernatorial election, Fafa Dan Princeville. Good morning, and thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you. All right, just, first of all, a quick assessment on the elections, over the weekend. Of course, it started with a lot of controversy. Some, sides saying that the election should not hold. The courts also, of course, getting involved with INEC and its voters register. The police also, deciding to respect a court order saying that they shouldn't provide security. But eventually, the elections went on, and held, and local government chairmen have been sworn in. What's your quick assessment of the process so far and the drama concerning the whole elections?
Well, first of all, I speak as a Rivers State indigent, not as a representative of any political party or holding any political office or role. Yes. I think all Rivers people, are relieved that at least one stage, the first stage of the controversy, has now settled. That the election was peaceful, that people went about their roles without any form of violence, and there are many lessons to take from it, and I hope from here on everyone behaves properly, and then we do things for the progress of the state and for the good of the people, rather than personal interests.
When you say that Rivers people are happy that the first stage of this whole drama has calmed down, Reports have it that Nyesom Wike's camp is going to court as local government chairmen have been sworn in by Governor Siminalayi Fubara. So it would seem that there are people who still are not pleased with the drama or pleased with the results of the elections as well as the swearing in. And what do you make of those?
No, that is actually proper. That is the way things should go. If you are not satisfied, you go to court. And usually that is what we always hear from them, go to court. So it's a good thing they're going to court. There is nothing wrong with that.
Okay, I mean, going to court, as much as, yes, like you said, it's part of the process. But we're very much aware that it's not simply because of the inconsistencies that they feel, happened with the election. It seems to be motivated by support for support from the FCT minister. If you remember, a protest even happened just before the elections, and they were tagged as pro-Wike supporters, protesting against the election. So there still is that involvement of the FCT minister in the whole conversation. Do you see that ending anytime soon?
Well, the FCT minister is fairly well known, to be one that pursues his interests, no matter the circumstances, and which is his legitimate right. I think going to court is fine. You see, what I believe Nigerians ought to look at, is that it's not really a River State problem. It's not even about the FCT minister, really, because repeatedly we have had these problems in River State. Actually, I would say that in this republic, we have had no peace in River State, from 1999 till date. In fact, even now, we probably fare a bit better than in the past, because we had a lot of prominent people who lost their lives in our politics. The rancor in River State, politics has been terrible. We have a situation in River State where national politics has been swayed or considers itself hinged on River State. All of these controversies are not about Rivers people. The peaceful election shows it. The real issue is national struggle for power that dovetails and has effect in River State. So it's not a River State problem. It's not about Rivers people. Rivers people are very peaceful and very civilized. We can conduct elections without police, without soldiers, and people would win and lose. That is the River State that I know. There is nothing in River State that is violent or rancorous. It is outside issues that make River State a pivotal violent spot.
The struggle for control of the state, is that what you're referring to?
No,
the state resources?
The struggle for the state resources to be used for national politics. That's where the problem is.
So it's beyond the FCT minister?
Well, he's part of it, but it is beyond him, yes. That's a fair statement. I would say that every River State election has national ramifications. It was very clear in the last election that if the APC had lost River State, we would have had a different president. That's clear. So it is River State politics being pivotal that is the issue. And then not just Rivers votes, but the resources of River State are used to win other states. So River State is a key political state, and that's the problem.
So before we go back now, let's or rather before we continue with current affairs, let's go back to the 2023 elections.
Yes.
Do you think the APC truly won River State from your assessment?
Well, the elections show, the elections show it. I think River State is a PDP state, and it has always been a PDP.
But so how did they suddenly vote
state.
APC in 2023?
They didn't, the honorable minister, determined whatever. He could have given it to any party that he wanted.
So he gave the election to the APC?
Definitely, and that's why he was compensated.
All right.
No, just hold on.
Because he's not a member of the APC and he was given such a major appointment, clearly shows that it was for gratitude for services rendered. And that service rendered was the delivery of Rivers State to...
So in other words,
when
we're
you
saying
say-
that Nyesom Wike rigged the elections in Rivers State.
His main supporters, Tony, in fact, that's the argument they're making. That's what Tony Okocha's argument is, that they've been rigging the elections. And so it's very clear. The evidence is clear. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone.
Okay, let's bring in the state chairman, Interparty Advisory Council, IPAC, Honorable Solsuema Osaro. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Morning.
All right, we would like to get your sense, about the elections that happened on the 5th of October, as well as the swearing in of the local government chairman that happened right after.
Well, firstly, I would want to sincerely appreciate the members of all political parties who came in, who contested in this election. It was not actually the usual times or the normal congenial environment that elections are conducted in Rivers State from our past experiences.
All right.
It is painful why the people are geared up towards having this election. Crisis, protests, masterminded by those who are loyal to the FCT minister, erupted in Rivers State a day before this election. The environment was very tense. The protest attempted to actually stop the election. We saw what happened in Rivers State. There is no sane person that will be happy to see that a state that is trying to ensure compliance with the ruling of the Supreme Court that has to allow election to be conducted into local governments will be stopped.
All right. It does seem that the network is posing a bit of a challenge. We're hoping, Honorable, we're struggling with your internet. We hope that that can be sorted. But please go ahead. All right. We're hoping that we can reconnect with him. Let's come back to the conversation now. Before we had him joining, we were talking about the influence of Minister Nyesom Wike on the 2023 elections. Now, let's talk about the presidency. Is there anything that the presidency could have done differently to ensure that peace can be guaranteed in Rivers State with the drama that's ongoing?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I believe that the president was ill-advised. That's my humble opinion. I believe that a lot of people who do not know the state very well were piloting or advising him on Rivers State. Okay, it's an error. Rivers State is not the kind of state that one man can deliver. It just is not. It's not the way the people think. It's a very open society. People hold different views. They can come together. And usually we have one direction. Our state usually comes together and agrees to support one party at one time or the other. That's just the history of being a minority state. We think that unity gives us a stronger and better voice. So you always find a lot of rancor, but Rivers people generally would go one side at the end of the day. That's the politics. So in such a state, you cannot give it just to one man to decide. It's more complicated than that. Amechi was a very popular, all our governors are popular at one time or the other because the people supported them at one point, okay? Whether it's Odili, you may not agree, you may not like them, but at the end of the day, the state says this is what we're doing and we all support, and those who don't, keep quiet. That basically is a culture. So when Nyesom Wike emerged, he emerged because the state was angry that our governor was not supporting the candidate we wanted at the national level. That basically was what it was. Goodluck Jonathan had emerged under circumstances that were not very pleasant. The president died, and that was the issue. Okay, so Amechi went against the mainstream opinion in the state, so the state left him. Okay, in that milieu, his number one man, his main supporter, Wike, became a Goodluck supporter, basically. Okay? Goodluck appointed him minister and all of that. So the state left Amechi and moved to Wike. It wasn't anything about Wike. It wasn't about his qualities. It wasn't about it. It was the circumstances of the politics at the time. But some people, especially outside the state, misunderstood it to think that, oh, he's a strong man, he has defeated Amechi, oh, this and all that. But it was local politics. Now, Wike himself fell afoul of the mainstream view that now, after that. So he moved from being a beloved son of the state to more or less a pariah, pretty much. Yeah. Because he was now playing politics as if it was his own personal gifts to whoever he wanted. He started redefining the society, determining whether Opobo is a Ijaw or whether this one is whatever. Now he has even said, oh, he's going to give power to the Ogoni. That's not Rivers State. We don't work like that. Every Rivers person is entitled and legitimate to be a governor, but we come together at some point. That's the way it works, okay? Not to. So I believe that the presidency was misadvised or misunderstood the situation and thought they could go with Wike alone. That works, and it worked for a short period. And whatever the 2023 elections were in Rivers State, people know what happened, okay? But unfortunately, after that experience, one would have expected that the federal government that has emerged would now recalibrate and look at Rivers politics differently. It is not an unpopular government or unpopular person that's Tinubu in the state. He is not. But he's gone to the side that is not the mainstream of Rivers State. That is clear. And without the power of the governor, one is at a loss how Wike is going to deliver the state, because he's not in the mainstream and he's not the governor. So, well, in short, that's what I think. I feel I'm misadvised, and I believe that if they don't recalibrate quickly, they could push the state into instability that could in turn destabilize the country.
So what it seems now is that the FCT minister, as a PDP member, is working in favor of the APC for Rivers State.
Well, he's working in favor of himself. He's not. I mean, I'll be surprised if APC thinks he's working for him, because it will make the party unpopular in the states. If you are, so that's why I say they're ill-advised. I don't think that. But that's his own personal thing, and I don't think an individual, is a reason for all of this. No, I don't think. I think it would be faulty to put all the blame on him personally. I think there are miscalculations that have been done that are destabilizing the state and the country.
All right. Let's bring in Honorable Solswema Osaro, who is the state chairman, IPAC. Good morning. We're hoping that the network has been sorted now. Please go ahead. You're giving us your thoughts regarding the elections, local government elections in Rivers State, and the swearing in of the chairman.
Yes, like I was saying earlier on, Rivers people have taken their destinies in their hands, because Rivers State does not belong to one person. We saw what happened prior to the election. The state was thrown into a lot of unpredictable situation where you had protests by those who are loyal to the FCT minister rampaging all over the state. And that also translated the next day because there were fears all over, fears of being attacked, fears of those who claim to destroy the electoral processes in the state. But we are very grateful because Rivers people came out, contested in the election, and we have seen the outcome of the election. We still maintain that the circumstances we found ourselves in, the attempt to disrupt the exercise, are really, really uncalled for. But we're happy that today there is an executive body in the state, there are executive chairmen all over the LGA, there are councillors, and that means that Rivers people have taken their destiny in their hands. It has not been it has not been very easy, but we are particularly very interested in the fact that one man cannot decide the fate of Rivers people. One man cannot put Rivers people in his pocket. So we appreciate all that has happened. But the fact that we have elected officers in Rivers State today against all odds, this election was contested against the police. We saw the road policemen attempting to enter RISEC to stop this exercise. We saw the police withdrawing the support security from this exercise. It has never happened before. Rivers State has been thrown into a state with a lot of ill feelings, a lot of attempted orchestrated the sword of free flowing attempt in Rivers State. It is really uncalled for. Why should the police, with due respect, get involved in politics? Despite the disguise of the Federal High Court, the Federal High Court, we know, is subject to the decisions of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, which has mandated every state to ensure that there are elected local governments across the entire country. And why should Rivers State be an exception? Why should the police dabble into the Rivers State electoral processes? Is it not the right of the police? If the police could provide security for protesters, why don't you provide security for the election? But on the other hand, we were very happy that the state government, the state governor stood up and stood out. The state governor stood out and took his state in his hands, because it is unheard for, it is uncalled for, it's unheard of. It is really a novelty of sensational and emotional disconcert, where people ought to stand by the masses and protect the values, electoral values of the masses. Abandon that exercise, abandon that duty, but they can provide security for protesters. This is a big slap on the leadership of the police in this country.
All right, hold on, Honorable Saron.
Leadership should not encourage this to happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, so I also want to ask about your assessment of the elections, itself. There's people who say that, yes, it may have been reasonably peaceful, but there are still certain flaws that exist with the way that the elections were carried out, and it's not very normal to see one party that barely anyone knew about 2 months ago suddenly win 22 out of 23 local government areas in a state, just like that. So, from your assessment, do you think that the elections were truly free, fair, and credible to, of course, give these persons victory, all 22 of them?
Well, let me take you back to the trajectories of elections in Rivers State. If you have been following elections in Rivers State, firstly, you know that Rivers State has been one-party state.
It is.
It has been a one-party state. And in our previous elections, even under the last dispensation of the former governor, we saw what happened in Rivers State. In fact, there was no party that won a single seat, either councillorship or chairmanship in Rivers State. No party. So if today we have seen a party,
unfortunately, that's it.
All right. We're unfortunately having challenges with his audio. I would like us to bring that conversation back to you, sir, to talk about the APP, their emergence and sudden popularity in River State elections, local government elections.
You see, first of all, in River State, just as I said earlier, the parties don't matter as much. You know, people get together and they go one way. And APP in River State was actually a very major party. It was a party from where the Rufus George, even Odili was moved from APP to PDP when it became clear that River State was heading towards PDP. He moved from APP to PDP. So it is not correct that there is no history at all with APP.
I mean, not there's no history, you know, but the APP was not, I mean, even in the 2023 elections, you know, you would not hear the APP mentioned in any of the major...
APC was not mentioned before in the state. There was no APC in River State, you know. Not a single representative. They didn't have anything in River State.
And then they won the election.
And they won and then they won the election, and then all the other positions were to PDP. Only the presidency that they won and won, you know. So it's... I think the problem is much deeper than the country is willing to discuss. You know, the River State problem is much deeper. And the issues, you know, our electoral acts, our constitution, all of them are on trial. The police, the entire infrastructure of elections, of politics, are on trial in River State. It's not a River State problem. It's not about Rivers people. You see, in many states, if the police withdrew, there would be violence and there would be chaos. But whichever way you look at it, the fact that there will be no police and more peaceful election than other elections that had the police, it's enough for us to sit down and discuss.
What do you think happens next? You know, moving forward, we of course expect that there will be litigation.
There will be litigations. There would be the attempt to reverse the election. And it's all not about the election.
Yeah.
It's about the governorship, and also not about even the governorship. It's about national politics. So a lot of things would happen, and that's why I think the president should be well advised. I think whichever way he's an astute politician, and there's nothing I'm saying that I believe that he doesn't know. You know, he's a very experienced politician. He has around him a lot of very experienced people. So we don't need instability in our country, and certainly not in our state. I believe that the crisis has the potential to upturn even the entire republic. I think that all Nigeria's national, even the First Republic, Second, all the problems have started from innocuous locations. I recall the problems between Akintola and Awolowo. It was a localized issue before it consumed the country. There was also the issue of Ondo State, where the election was manipulated or manipulated in a way that the people did not accept. I mean, and it upturned the republic. So we have a history of it. I believe that the River State situation should be looked at with maturity and wisdom, you know.
Do you consider what has happened so far, especially with the concluded elections and the swearing of the local government chairman, as the governor, Siminalayi Fubara's point in setting up his own structure, political structure in River State?
First of all, it's unfortunate that that's our politics, but that's the way it is. There is no reason why we cannot separate the performance of the duties to the citizenry from the political process. That is one of the weaknesses of our electoral act and our electoral process. We must separate the actual performance and delivery of goods to the people from the politics. We can't play politics with everything, and that's what we are doing. We play politics with everything. It is also not true that it is members of APP that have now emerged. A lot of the people who have emerged are from various parties. They're from, it's a game, okay? Many of them have never been in APP, but they've emerged, okay? So I don't think that is where the problem is. What it is that the state, and if the state didn't agree, there would have been uproar. There's no uproar anywhere. So I feel that we need to look at the Electoral Act again, the electoral process. We need to look at INEC, the police, the different roles. It is absurd to call a man the chief security officer of the state as a governor, and he has no control over the commission of police. See, there are fundamental issues that we continue to toy with that should be addressed. We need to return our country into an electoral thing that can work. What we have now is not working, and it needs to work.
Okay. You had mentioned earlier that the president was ill-advised, and they need to do different things differently, and they need to recalibrate.
Yeah.
If the status quo remains, what's the current situation and the current politics that is being run in Rivers State remains, what do you think that this would mean for the 2027 elections for Siminalayi Fubara and for Nyesom Wike?
My personal view is that a lot of these rules and regulations ought to change before the 2027 election. I think the president can run on his record in Rivers State. He doesn't need to run on the shenanigans of one individual. You win or lose, and Rivers people are very fair-minded. They will look at what you've done, and we have seen many times people who are extremely popular become very unpopular. People who are unpopular become popular in Rivers State because they look at what the issues are. So I think if there's a change in the process, if there is proper reform, that is in the best interest of the president, it's the best interest of the nation, and I think in the best interest of all well-meaning Nigerians.
And what would that mean for Siminalayi Fubara? Because we can't deny the fact that part of what is happening, not just in Rivers State, but around the country, is setting the stage for 2027 elections. Do you think that he would have a stronger form in 2027?
If you are, Siminalayi to me, was put in a corner. I don't think he's doing any of the things out of malice or, of his own. He was cornered up. And don't forget, a lot of what is happening is what Rivers people want, even more than Siminalayi. He is playing to the underground feelings and movements of the people. That's really what is going on. It is not the other way around. He's not the one convincing Rivers people on this. This is the view of Rivers people. They are done with that last exercise.
Well, the people that are busy singing Then They Fear Wike, I don't know part of Rivers.
Then they fear?
All those people singing Wike, Then They Fear You, all his supporters.
Hey, we give him money. They are, you know that Rivers people are not afraid of anybody. You know that. Not in Rivers State. Nobody's afraid of anybody. No.
Unfortunately, just like you said, there's a lot of fixing that needs to be done with our electoral process.
Precisely.
If Rivers people, like you said, always vote in one way,
Yes.
they're a one-party state.
Yes.
2023 seems to be a completely abnormal situation, that happened over there. It's that wasn't what was expected in Rivers State. The electoral process needs to be strengthened so that Rivers people and the voices of the Rivers people would always be heard. Elections would not be flipped, on them, just like that. And I think one of the things that you also mentioned, I think it was important, is the ability to separate politics from governance.
It's very important.
That is a flaw not just on the electoral process, but also on us as a people, and the demands that we make of the people that we have in political office.
It's not the fault of the people. It's the regulations is schemed to achieve that. That's what it's not. Nigerians are good people. I don't think our ethnicity and all that, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think so. Our laws make us behave a certain way. Even this ethnicity, religion, Nigerians get along with each other. I don't think that is the problem. If you look at our laws properly, you will see in them elements of division. There's no reason for it to be one man take everything. There's no reason. And there's no reason for you to need the support of every local government chairman for you to be governor. There's no reason why your re-election should be based on other people's actions and positions.
Okay. Just before we wrap up, I think you can also quickly speak on the Labour Party. As it currently stands.
Labour Party has gone through its own crisis and is again part of the national rights. We had a lot of confusion, even in my state, a lot of confusion, a lot of unnecessary confusion. Nationally also, I was very happy to see that the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, the presidential candidate, Peter Obio, were able to gather people to meet in Aba for the to review things.
Yeah.
And we hope that but every party is in crisis. Whether it's APC, PDP, Labour, every party is in crisis. And it is unfortunate that every election we have a new electoral act. So it's just like the World Cup, and you have new football rules for every World Cup. You look at the teams, you look at who is a good player here, then you make the laws. That's how it seems. If you have a very good player, who is left-legged, you make a rule that that's basically what we've been doing. We need to have a proper, well-reformed electoral act. We need to do that. Even if we don't do the Constitution, we absolutely can't continue like this.
Yeah. I think everyone would agree. In order for Nigerians to be able to have an election that they can truly trust,
yeah.
The current electoral act is not what
it's not. It doesn't cut it.
Is it just the Electoral Act or also the Commission?
Well, you see, they are products of the Electoral Act. I would put it that way. I would say that. Are you going to use the machines? And if you don't use the machines, what? The rules should be clear. Yeah. You can't pick and choose. You can't pick and choose. In some constituencies, elections start at 2 o'clock. In some constituencies, elections start at 8 a.m. We can't run an election. Our electoral process is not serious. Even determining who is the candidate of a party is controversial. The rules are inadequate. They just don't work. They should be resolved long before election. Look at even this local government election. Only days to the election, we're still talking about will it take place, will it not, we are going to court. It's just ridiculous. They should be settled well ahead of time. All
right. I think it's been a very interesting conversation. We, of course, will continue to x-ray River State and how things turn out over there. In the next couple of days, we expect that there would be, of course, more twist to the tale in River State from, of course, Siminalayi Fubara, those who, of course, might be going to court, and maybe other political players in the whole conversation. Bafar Dan Prince, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.